Good morning, rise and shine, day 282. Hopefully I'm doing this to the right page. Yesterday I posted to a different page. I was like, oops. But I'll get that sorted out. I forgot to check that this morning. Anywho, day 282. It is beautiful here in the bluegrass. Colors of the trees are changing. Fall is here. Oh, it's gorgeous. It's like only 33 degrees right now or something. So anyway, we're talking about 2 Corinthians chapters 2 and 3. And there's a couple of verses in near the end of chapter 3 that really caught my attention. So I'm calling this little nugget today, the spirit of freedom. Boy, that is the good news. We are free. We are free indeed. And many of us walk around saying it, and then we're not doing it. We're not believing it. We're not living that way. We're living as if we're still captive with the veil. He compares it to when Moses came and brought the law, which was glorious, like that was the best thing since sliced bread at that time. But we have the second covenant. We have the new covenant, which blows that out of the water. Like if that was glorious, so glorious that Moses, the glory of God shone on Moses's face so much that he had to put a veil over it. And then he takes that analogy and says, and today that same veil still covers the minds of those who won't believe in the new covenant. They're stuck. They're not free. They've got a veil and they can't see. They're blind. They have eyes, but they can't see. They have ears, but they can't hear. And they won't receive the freedom. The law is condemnation. But it was the best they had at the time. But we have a new way now, and the new way is liberation, freedom. The Lord is, wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And we receive the Spirit of the Lord, and therefore we receive freedom. Some of us are saying that with our mouths, and maybe we're believing it as much as we can intellectually, but has it made its way really to our hearts? We don't really believe it. We don't have faith, which is part of what Paul touched on, has been touching on. Like, how can you really have faith if you have guilt and judgment and all these things? Like, that's the fruit of the law, condemnation. And that is death. That's the walking dead. And if you want to know what it feels to be alive, you've got to accept the gift of freedom. And it's something you already have inside. You've just got a veil. You just got it covered. And Paul talks about at the beginning of the chapter too, when you all get this message, it's written on your hearts. I don't even need to write a letter of recommendation because you all are a living letter. It's written on your hearts. We don't need a stone tablet anymore. We don't even need pen and paper. We just need people that believe and live this way. And then they become a love letter and a letter of freedom to others to show the way. Like, hey, when we see people living freely and the freedom that love grants, not a false selfish freedom, like I can just do whatever I want and I don't even care if it hurts somebody. That's condemning, because that brings guilt and shame and not a clear conscience. That's backward. That's not what we're talking about here. Freedom, when I'm free in the love of the Spirit of the Lord, I can start to rest. I can start to let you behave how you want to behave. I don't have to get in there and wag my finger at you. I can encourage and talk to you if you come to me. Like, I just live the example. I just am the example to the best of my ability. And I know that it's to the best of my ability. My conscience will tell me. And if I have some convictions coming into my conscience, then I'll know, something's off here. I'm not living in freedom. I'm trying to get out of my lane of just being loved and showing love. Because love, remember, the characteristics of love: patient, kind, accepting, respecting. It is enduring, persevering, hopeful, faithful, all of these characteristics. So if I'm not acting with these characteristics and my behavior doesn't reflect this, that will convict my conscience, and then I'll go, okay, oh, yep, I got out of the love bucket and jumped off the love boat and started trying to get on somebody else's boat and start telling them what to do, being judgmental, holding on to unforgiveness, all of these things. And it's a practice. We're human. We're not going to get it right. But we don't have to be. We're free from guilt and shame about it anymore. We just humble ourselves and get ourselves right again. It just takes humility. But to some, that feels like death. And until you live it, and until you do it, and you realize that it is actually the path to more aliveness, you add more life to your life by being humble. But our ego is telling us, don't do it. It's telling you you're going to die if you humble yourself. And it's trying to get its way. It wants to live. The ego has a life of its own, and it wants to live. And it is telling you the wrong things. And we need to die. That's why we've got to die. The ego needs to die. We need to die to ourselves. That's what it's talking about. It's talking about the ego, so that we can have new life in Christ, in the Lord, in freedom, in love. But because we have two of these lives in us, it's a battle, or it can feel like a battle. It's not really a battle. The ego wants us to think that it's a battle. But God just says, surrender, be humble, and then the war will end. You can just ignore the loud noises and the voices in your head. You don't have to engage with them, because that actually, what you resist persists. It takes a lot of energy to go to war and to fight. Bring all that energy back to yourself in love and in kindness, so that you can live in peace and harmony with yourself and with others. The ego wants war. You don't have to engage in it. You can just say, yeah, I know. You're scared. It's okay. I know it feels like death to you, but really, trust me, you're my roommate in there. Like, go with me and let's live a new life together in freedom, with a spirit of freedom and cooperation. The Lord, wherever the Lord is, and the Spirit of the Lord is freedom. There's love, there's cooperation, there's truth. And you don't have to understand it intellectually. You just have to know it and do it. Then maybe your brain will catch on. No, God's ways are not our ways. That's what faith is all about. You've got to walk it out for your brain to even start to get it. Because it's like, that doesn't make sense. I'm not doing it. You do it anyway. And then you'll get the evidence and the experience that will confirm the truth. All right. Have a great day. I'm going to go get some things done, because I have the freedom to. All right. Rise and shine. 2 Corinthians chapters 2 and 3 mainly talked about the last section of chapter 3 today. Have a great day. Bye.